Welcome, everybody, to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. It's your host, Helen Edwards. And with me today, I have the very special Cass Stouder. Did I say that right, Cass?
Yes.
So tell everybody who you are.
Hi, guys. Sure. My name is Casandra Stouder, but most people call me Cass. I am currently living in Central Arizona, which I love. I've got 2 adult children, and I think what makes me a little bit unique in my introduction right now is that I am full-blood Native American. I've been an Arizonan since I was born, and I represent my mom's tribe of the Navajo Nation and also my father's tribe from the Seminole Nation in Oklahoma. So I think that makes me really unique, and it also has a lot to do with my role as a mother. It has a lot to do with my role in my work as well. So other areas of who I am in my introduction that's worthy of knowing is that I'm 37 years old. I am the baby of 2 older sisters, a single hardworking mom that I am hoping to pay a tribute to in this interview because she's someone that I really admire. And so she puts a lot of pressure on me to put good filter out there. So especially with this podcast, there are a lot of women too that I think have aspects of my mother and women that I'm really drawn to. Helen, you are definitely one of those women. So thank you so much for having me on here. There's a lot, I think, to everybody that they could introduce themselves. There's a lot that they can incorporate. And so, but what I'm most proud of is being Native American, a woman, a mother, a daughter, and a friend.
I love that. Yes. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing that beautiful introduction of yourself. I am really all about diversity and bringing people on who have a diverse background, multicultures. I believe this is the platform for freedom of expression, and I believe it's a light in this world, and you are definitely a light in this world. And I feel like there's so much to you, but a few things I want to touch on. One is your sister, the one who passed. I if you don't mind maybe sharing a little bit about that, because that was having a sibling in my own past really touched me, and knowing that how we're out in the world kind of doing good and honoring them as well. And then, like you mentioned, your mother as well. Our moms sound just alike. I'm telling you, so wild. We're always, when we get together, we're always like, we need to get our moms together.
Our moms are badasses, man.
They are
amazingly hard knocks women.
Mm-hmm. That's why we're so badass. I'm sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's exactly why. No, yeah, I think that, human nature is we are not equipped to handle grief. We handle it though, and that's a really beautiful thing. How we do it is so unique. And, human nature is just so beautiful in that we kind of lean on each other when we need it most. And loss is just a very hard thing to understand fully. And I don't think we'll ever understand it. So yeah, my upbringing and all I know, now, as an adult, they put labels on things like codependency. And what I've learned is I have struggled with codependency, but it stems from such a beautiful place. My experience with codependency wasn't an angst type of energy. It was more built into me in a beautiful way. And what I mean by that is being the baby of 2 older sisters. My oldest sister, whom you mentioned, Cynthia, she lived 36 years with cerebral palsy. And so she was wheelchair bound, blind, could not speak, could not move or do the normal things, in quotations, that the rest of us are able to do. So my middle sister, her career path was drawn towards the medical field. And so she's in nursing, and she's in the field of helping people, especially elders. That's her population, her special population that she's really gifted at helping. And so she's been drawn to that group. And I've been drawn to people in general through wellness. And so I feel really drawn to the person that has gotten off course somehow through addiction, through ailments, through injury, you name it. So people in general trying to get back on that good path. And I think now, having grown up admiring a woman, a single mom, a strong woman, taking on 3 little girls and one with full disabilities, and watching her at moments, in daily routine where we had to get laundry done at the laundromat, we had to go grocery shopping, we had to help her unload and put this wheelchair together very quickly so that we could be on task to get homework done, dinner done, and on to the next day of duties and routine. And so I remember sometimes when kids would poke fun or be interested in the disabilities of my sister, I would get so pissed off, like ready to fight, ready to throw blows because that's my family and she can't help it. She's innocent. And it brought that energy out of me, especially being the runt of the family. Like, I'm ready to go. My middle sister is very soft and compassionate and could ignore that type of energy. But my mom, the focus in me explaining this, my mom really had this way about her where she would invite that child over very calmly. And if the child was willing to hold that child's hand and explain, "Hi, my name is Bernice, and this is my daughter, Cynthia. She has cerebral palsy. That means that she has to be in this wheelchair." And it makes me emotional right now because who does that? Who do you know? We live, especially now, in a very fast-paced world. And, we talk about human connection. We talk about understanding one another, and we talk about doing the right thing and trying to be well and all of these great things. People are made up to do their best and to move forward in the best sense of that. And I believe in that, but the actual doing of that is a whole different thing. And so I've witnessed a woman stop in her tracks to actually explain something that is seen as different, is seen as weak, is seen as whatever belief is there, and just squashed it in a minute. And so it very, in such a beautiful way, took that anger from me and took that wall away from me where I wanted to protect my family and be that physical. So those have been my roles. My role in my family is that physical, and my sister has been the compassionate and learning about my sister's disability. And my mom, her role has been, to me, that ultimate philosopher, that ultimate master trainer, that ultimate wisdom, just in the way that she calmly and patiently moved through life, when of all people, she should have been the one up in arms, like fighting and flailing, but she didn't. And to me, and a woman seeing that poise and demeanor is something that I really hope, and I'll say it again, especially in this interview, to pay a tribute to and to do justice to, because that's where I align, and I definitely want to continue to grow to be. My sister Cynthia just had a way about her that we do. She was heightened to energies in the room. And so if we had like the cable guy come over and fix the TV or something, and something was off about that person, we would see it in her body language first. So with my vision and my body language and my movement and everything, I could kind of really be in tune to her first and then notice what's around me. So it's almost like if you walk into a room and you just close your eyes, you can kind of feel like what's going on in that room. Sometimes it's not good. And without explaining it or anything like that, I feel like I learned how to just be innocent in that way through my sister. And though that has gotten me in trouble with certain people, it has also like strengthened me with other people, exercising that energy and just knowing that through her. I struggled constantly with knowing that with all of my abilities, how far can I take it? But you know, that can be kind of a touchy situation, because you can only go so far in one direction with the intent, good intent, but you can't always just be one direction. You have to be multiple areas. So I've used my sister's disabilities and growing up in a household with her to use my vision in a way where I can see a problem visually. I can see an issue and try to see a different angle. And then the words that I speak, I don't bullshit. I try my best not to bullshit. I really try my best to speak with understanding to the best of my ability, where my understanding is. And if it's useful or helpful, I want to give it to you. I want to teach it to you. And so in training and fitness and wellness, I've been able to exercise my voice in that way to help someone. Because we all have ability to speak. We all have ability to see. We all have ability to move. And so I've just lived in a household most of my life where, you know, this precious being, if she was given that opportunity, and your God, your creator, whomever you pray to says, boom, Cynthia, here you go. You can have life. You can have everything. What are you going to do with it? For me, that invisible conversation is, I agree. I want to see things in a good way. I want to speak kindly and powerfully. I want to move my body in a way that I can dance, I can jump, I can move mountains if I could. And wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so moving forward, just pulling inspiration from that, I'm now an adult, fast forward, have adult children, and I'm learning of these terms, you know, where, you know, a lot of adults deal with childhood experience, sometimes bad, sometimes good, and sometimes neutral. And so our situation wasn't the easiest, but we had to put aside our needs most of the time to serve our family member. And that was a survival thing within our household. And so growing up as an adult, it now is seen as codependent, where I do have that tendency to run to people, especially broken people, and be like, okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
And it's a great thing, because I'm learning about myself too, that I can step back and I don't have to get involved. I don't know those people's experience. It's probably like night and day. It's similar, but what I've experienced is not the same as yours, is not the same as theirs. And so just knowing that balance now has brought a different light. And so I think that is a part of me still paying a tribute, looking at things from a different angle as I grow. And, you know, I will always admire my mom, and I will always miss and adore my sister. And I feel really deeply connected to both of them, my family in general. And, you know, as you move through life and you find inspiration and things that strengthen you along the way, you also find other people that have that same light and have that same strength and courage to move forward with whatever reason they have inside of them. And I have seen that in you, Helen. I've seen that in your family and your interactions. I wouldn't reach out or go out of my way to keep those connections or be interested in people like that if it didn't resonate with me. And so I see a lot of your sister and my sister. I see a lot of me and you. And you know, when you talk about your mom, whom I'm still eager to meet. I already trust and know that she has a lot of strength like my mom, because humans are beautiful in that way. We're just mirrors to each other. And I'm really thankful right now, just having a moment right now in your podcast, just really thankful to be here and using your creativity and your platform right now to just share a little bit about me. Like, oh, it's humbling. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for sharing that portion of your upbringing and with your sister and mom. In fact, you said something really interesting about your mom. And we've probably talked about this before, but every single time I hear it, I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's almost like you took the words out of my mouth, what I say about my mom. And, a lot of people always ask, well, who was your coach? Who was your, who did you look up to when you grew up? And where did you learn all this spiritual and all this stuff from? And yeah, I say, my mom. And I understand that a lot of people don't have that upbringing with their own parents or mom, but I do. And that, because it wasn't done for others doesn't mean I need to be silenced about it, because my mom was a very strong woman, just how you're talking about, single mom of 5 kids, in and out of shelters, teaching us about compassion, teaching us about courage, teaching us about forgiveness, and constantly telling us, oh, you think you have it bad? And then she'd show us the worst. And I think to this day, that's why I'm consistently looking back on people, with, special needs, or, suicide, or kids that didn't make it, or kids that are being abused, or women who are oppressed across the world. I'm constantly drawn to it because I need it to trigger me it needs to trigger that fire inside of me to burn, to keep going. And that was my mom. That was my mom who instilled that in me. And she was my spiritual teacher. I mean, we weren't raised on the reservation. I'm half Apache and half Spanish, and we were raised on 40 acres of land with no running water, no electricity, and we would sit around fires all the
Basically
time.
is.
Yeah, like that was my normal. And when I started
Yeah.
meeting other natives for the first time and hearing about their stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy. That's how what? So
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I felt like I was connecting more. And my dad, who adopted me, was Mexican. And, so I grew up in a Mexican household, but, learned about whatever indigenous side I did was on that property.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like the oddball out. And it's so strange. And I think that's why I'm so into ancestry work, is because it kind of came out, and my mom was the one that was like, hey, I know what's going on with you. Let me talk to you. And yeah, I'm glad you're here too. And okay. So right now you are doing fitness, because I know you're a fitness leader in the Native community, right? Tell us more about that.
Yes. So I dedicated about 7 years of working with Native American Fitness Council. And at the time I was running a grant program for diabetes prevention for a very small tribe, Northern Arizona. And so for that grant specifically, I was working on a lot of prevention. So I was pulling the kids in, I was doing exercise and crafts and things to engage their brains and their bodies. And I was engaging all the working parents, because a lot of them were borderline diabetics. So my full background has always been fitness and wellness. And so I said, I'm going to run this diabetes program with prevention. Like, we're going to hit fitness full throttle. And so I was really inspired at the time, and I was getting a huge draw of people. And I was really thankful for that. So I felt a responsibility to put into action what I was calling for. So I needed more education. I needed more training. I needed more to just kind of keep me in line with what I was wanting. And so I took on a certification at the Nike World headquarters in Oregon. And I was amongst other Native Americans and non-natives from all over the nation. We had thousands of people looking to get certified through fitness. And so the energy was high. The ambition was just so contagious. It was just everybody, all walks of life. And so it was about a 4-day training. Midway through the second day, I was kind of pulled aside by one of the trainers, and she said, I really appreciate you being here. And I thought, well, thank you. Like, I appreciate you guys. I'm really having a good time. And she said, I noticed that when somebody is struggling, you're helping them, like you're kind of stopping what you're doing and you're helping them. We really appreciate that. And I said, well, you're welcome. And I said, if I'm disrupting or anything, I can back off. And she said, no, it's awesome. And I said, well, thank you. It's nice to be recognized. By the third day, the group of trainers pulled me aside and said, we've been watching you. We appreciate you. Come have lunch with us. And I thought, oh my gosh, out of thousands of people, like, oh my gosh, like, so we sat down, we ate, and they were just asking questions about what I did. And I said, honestly, I don't know what I'm doing. I came into this diabetes prevention program. I've never ran a grant or a program, period. And I'm just doing what I can to support the idea. And they said, thank you for being honest. Most people are not brave enough to say, I don't know. And I said, I explained to the tribe that I'm working for that I will give it my best shot. If you support me with training, education, all of that, I will do my best. And I said, that's part of why I'm here. And they said, we love that. So by the last day, they said, will you come have dinner? And I said, yes. And they offered me a position. Before that, I had no intention to pursue anything like that. And so they said, we only require that we see you in action, the things that you talk about in your program and the work that you're doing. We want to come out and visit your community. We want to see you in action for a couple of days. Are you okay with that? And I said, yes. Within 7 days, their CEO made a flight down to this little tribe that I was working at, and they came to my classes. They came to my office, and I gave them a tour. They met the people that I was working with and kind of did little interviews with them, and everything was in line. And by the end of that first night that they were there, he said, I don't need to stay another day. I want to offer you a position with Native American Fitness Council. And I said, yes. And I dedicated 7 years with that group, certifying and teaching people in general that work for Native country to try to motivate. And it wasn't just through fitness, it was through people with limitations, special populations, people in dirt poor communities that didn't have any equipment, any type of supplies or anything to get somebody on track. And so we had a lot of fun coming up with creative curriculum and creative fitness plans and wellness plans to help our people move forward, and just finding a way, finding a yes for every single person. And in that, in the beginning, it was always about the person walking in the door for that certification, whatever that certification was. It was about that story. Why are you here? What moves you? And who are you serving? And what does that look like when you go back home? How is that really going to play out? I'm interested in that. And I care about what you're doing. And, I think a lot of people, when they take on inspiration and they take the action and they apply themselves to a training or to something that moves them, they're in that space of like, does somebody hear me? Does somebody see me? Because I'm doing this, but like, I just need confirmation. And so I love that aspect of just being that confirmation for them. Like, you're doing it. You're totally doing it. And, what's important is the outcome, how you continue to move it through your community, and you have to know that you're supported. And so the stories and people and working with that group was more like family, and a lot of people returned for more certifications, and you just start to get to know people across the nation, and you understand their stories, and you understand why they come back, and you understand their commitment to their lifestyle and their commitment to their education, and the things that they need to do to apply themselves, to be real with themselves, so that they can in turn represent that and continue that for themselves. And then people just start to, people want to know how you do things, how you found a way, and how you found that courage. Even just being around it is good enough. but to actually like move with people and train people and be a part of a good working system, that's like the ultimate goal. And so really grateful for that position and that role, because it happened by chance. I didn't plan it. I didn't think I would ever be there. And, so say yes to opportunity, say yes to growth, and say yes to the unknown, say yes to things that are in line with your path, but you're not sure how it's going to turn out. Focus on the action of doing it, because it works out and it will open things to you that you never even knew. And people know that in general. It's just like taking those first couple of steps. So if you're right there on this hinge, get off that damn hinge.
Totally
And
100%
even if you
accurate with that.
wobble when you take that first step. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wobble me.
So
get out there and dance.
That's just, hey, exactly. If you have to, I mean, shoot, get to it.
No, that's awesome. Are you still with that? Are you still with it or onto something else?
No, I decided to step away so that I could put more focus on a different organization, Native American Women's Conference. So I had that background and that focus, and I needed something that was calling to me in my life. And so my children becoming adults, and I was starting to find, and I still am starting to find, more windows of opportunity to really embrace who I am as a woman. And I'm proud of the path that has been put in front of me. It's been like a lot of the parts of the path have been dark and covered in brush and rocks and scary things, unknown things. And just having that courage to take my time, sit with it, devise a plan, and continue. And in the light that has been brought to me by other women, I'm able to look back and be like, dang, I remember when that spot was really scary, but that was just a pebble.
Yeah.
But at night and in the dark, when you feel a pebble in a little bush, it's scary. Everything's exaggerated.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm saying is, you learn to sit with some things that may seem kind of scary. And when you do that, you realize how many other women, other people have done that and are doing that. And so right now in this portion of my life, I'm more curious about other women and just have such a love and such an understanding, because there's so many beautiful layers to a woman that, we are so magnificent in the way that we are natural mathematicians, we're natural creators, we are natural builders, we're natural survivors, we're natural seekers of good. But what's so magnificent about all of that is that we're quiet. We can know all these layers, we can know our full power and ability, and we can sit on it. And we can just give a very soft expression to one another and just know and feel that within each other. And that's such a power and such a grace. Grace scares me. It does still to this day, because if you've really experienced grace and exercised that, you can see that in another damn woman. And you're like, ooh, baby. Mm-hmm. She's a fighter. She's a strength. She's a lover. She's got that depth in those layers. And so Native American Women's Council serves Native women, and it's all about that Native woman coming in, whether she's been incarcerated, she's been on the streets, she has nowhere to go. It's also in contrast that woman at the highest level in her career, and she's at the highest level in her education, or the in-betweeners, the timid, the isolated, the hilarious, the joyful, the creative. It just speaks to every brown woman out there, light, dark, but every Native woman out there that seeks opportunity and that seeks a way. And my grandmother gave me the name, the woman who joined them in a war. And I never knew what that meant up until now, and that the war for a lot of us is just battling ourselves so that we can get to the next good point. And so we're all in it. We're all in it. I choose to be shoulder to shoulder with people. And that's just my natural makeup. And I'm proud of that. In contrast to that, she had a nickname for me. My grandmother had a nickname for me that would almost drop me to my knees and make me cry because it was the one that would get sick and die off eventually. And
dang, girl.
as a young teenager on the reservation, I know, as a young teenager on the reservation, like grandma would call that out to me and I would just like almost be in tears and they'd all be laughing at me and be like, your grandma hates you. And I'd be like, no. So it wasn't until I was a young lady, older, I asked her, why do you call me that? It hurts my feelings, or it used to hurt my feelings. And she'd just draw me over to the ranch window and she'd look out at all of her livestock and her garden and her biggest trees and everything that she had put to life and had taken care of all of her life. She'd done well. And she said, if you look out there and just pick out all of the runts and all of the area and the agriculture where nothing could grow, if you look at all of that, it was close to dying. It was sick and it was destined to just be a challenge. But those are the strongest areas of my farm, of my ranch, of my livelihood. And the lesson I got from that is people struggle. I struggled. And you get so damn close to like, holy shit, like, I feel like I'm the only one. I feel like I can't even open my eyes to see that next step. I feel like I can't own up to my voice the way I promised my sister. I feel like I can't use my body in the way that I instruct and I teach people. That we're all the same. We struggle and we get so dang close. But that's also what's so fragile and so beautiful about life, because it only comes from you. That moment where you just trust and you have full faith that where you began and where you focus the majority of your life and what your spirit is so worthy of just opening those eyes. Just open them and just try one more time. It's that testament, it's that building of that testament. And so I just, the one that got close, I mean, it's not just me. I guess we all get close, whatever that is. And, there's no full understanding at any point in life. It's continuous. And we have to respect that and just be in line that with nature and the way that you move forward, eventually you will be nurtured. It's just the way nature works.
Yeah.
There will be calm. There will be a moment where you can breathe and you can be like, okay, now I can look back at that little pebble and I'm all right. I'm all right.
That's a really good message, Cass. Definitely can hit home for so many of us. And, what you said about us kind of all struggling and everything. I think that's one of the things, as I like to call it, like being in a leadership role. Like I think people forget, like, I'm not just a teacher. I'm also the student still, forever. I always say I'm a student forever. And that one of the things is when you step in a leadership role, people tend to look at you like you have it all together and you're always straight path. And well, news for you. So yeah, I love that you're working with the women on the reservations and working with the women in the Native culture or conferences, because and me, a lot of my work is with women also. And there's so much that it takes a lifetime to learn about ourselves and what your grandmother was saying, or, her name for you. And then what you took from that. I love the metaphor. I love the story behind it. And I love what you got from it, because it's what many of us feel, but don't really know how to articulate sometimes. So thank you for sharing that, Cass. You're awesome.
Oh, you're welcome. You're so welcome. You're part of that story, girl. You are so part of that. And Yeah, no, I really respect you and I honor you. You know, even though friendships, they don't have that constant friction. I mean, you have moments like I'm washing dishes or I'm like up against a report that's due and I'm like, I know I'm connected to other women that are doing hard things. And I know
Mhm.
I'm connected to women that can bring that memory of laughter or joy or that light that I need in that moment. And I have those moments and I'm like, okay, I'm good. I'm good. If Helen can rock that podcast, if if Helen can do that interview on the spur of the moment at a coffee shop and just say, fuck it, let's go, like I'm good because she's out there expressing herself, she's in her truth, and that's ultimately what people want and what people crave. And so you've illustrated that and you've displayed that amazingly. You're an inspiration in that way. I'm like, shoot, what
Thank
am I crying
you.
about? Helen's out
Oh,
there just rocking her shit out.
oh, thank you. I really feel like when I look at the grand scheme of everything, or kind of grand scheme, if I observe it all and kind of sit with it, how you're saying, sitting with it. I mean, there's been moments where I'm crying and I'm fighting with myself, like just how you were saying, just that war within. And I'm like, no, I don't want to, like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, why am I even doing this? Like, I don't have to help anybody else. I got the best life I've ever asked for, everything I've worked for. And I got to, by 40, by 39, really. And it's like, there's this deep, like what you're saying, call it creator, call it great spirit, call it God, whatever anybody wants to call it. But there's definitely a divine source inside of me that's like, you're not resting, like your work's not done, and that little flame, like I say, the burning desire just gets bigger and bigger. And and I'll even say, like, I'm not, it's like it's like imposter syndrome. You're like, well, I'm not like this. Like, why am I being called to it? Like, why do I have to go? There's thousands of other people who are in the same role as I am. Why do I have to go? And it's almost like I hear this voice going, because I picked you. Now get your ass up and go, So I always say, that's why one of the things I talk about is protecting the throne, coming from a warrior's mentality. And that's just got such a big meaning to it for me, because I believe my mother was a warrior. I believe her mother was a warrior. And I believe I belong to a
Hell
lineage of,
yeah.
of warriors. Maybe they weren't all like the best warriors, probably some of them were evil, but there's some good in there. And I get it. I got to choose that, I get to make that choice. Do I want to be a good, a warrior who fights for good, or do I want to be a warrior who's also a coward, and I'd rather be the good warrior fighting the good fight. So I hear what your grandmother's talking about. I hear what your mom's saying. I
Yeah.
hear what you're saying. I could hear it all through
Oh
you.
my God. Yeah. And oh my gosh, the women, they just give me the chills. My grandmother was actually a Mustang trainer, wild Mustang trainer. It wasn't that title or anything back in the day, but she was actually shunned and ridiculed for that at that time
Mm,
because that was a man's work and they called her a whore because she wouldn't
mm,
ride side saddle. Once she tamed them and trained them and had them working on her ranch efficiently, people were jealous, and so they tried to break her down. And we've got these old black and white photos of her with this wild beast rearing up on her, and she's in her Navajo dress attire, her long black hair in the wind, like just so picturesque, but fucking badass. Like, holy
yeah.
shit. She had this way about her that was so gentle with these beasts, there can be
Mm,
violent animals.
mhm.
And she had this way with them. And, she used that as a teaching tool. And I think that helped my mother, go against what people say and think that her life is going to be hard as a single mom, as a young mother for a child with full disabilities, that it's going to be a challenge. Yet she had two more children after that. And, we all have our testament in this life. And, it is true. People will question, turn sideways, and try to distract you. And there's so many beliefs and ideas out there that can be it can make you sensitive, and it can make you look the other way, like maybe, question who you are. But again, I'll say it again, what you were divinely created as, your inner spirit, and like you said, that fire within you, protecting that throne, owning your full power as that warrior woman. Hell yeah. 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 I don't care if you're baking sugar cookies. I don't care if you're a rodeo clown. I don't care if you're actually out there on the battlefield, armed up, ready to go. That,
Yeah.
we are all at this table together, and we are all putting our best effort forward with what we've been taught, with what we have. Some have more than others, so be it. We're all human beings. We have the same makeup, like skin, body, hair, organs, things that work, things that don't work. But your spirit, your inner self, that's what drives and pushes forward. And if you're unkind with that, if you disrupt that, if you're not truthful, if you're evil with that, it throws nature off, and it throws that ultimate mission of moving forward in humankind. It throws that off. I don't want to be a part of that. So that's the hard part, is at a very microscopic level, my spirit, I have to take care of that. I have a responsibility to take care of that, because ultimately it's a part of that big universal picture. And I'm very proud to describe the women that I come from, to describe the family and the upbringing that I come from, because that's part of my due diligence to move forward in that way. And I do believe what happens with self happens in the home, happens in your community, happens in your world. And those things should be hardworking. They should have good intention. They should have ethics, respect, the things that they teach us in preschool, to be kind, tell the truth, share, all of those little innocent things. We should be doing our best to carry all of that forward, especially if you're a parent, especially if you're a person of leadership, things like that, just to chill out for a second and realign. It's so worth it. It is so worth it.
And if you don't realign, look, let me tell you, if you wonder why life keeps punching your face, or you want to say you're getting curveballs thrown at you, or let's see, Mama Earth and Father Sky is going to beat your ass, like, you will get your ass straightened out. I'm telling you, I know this firsthand, because I did many times over.
Yes.
If you don't think anybody's looking, somebody's looking. It may not be a physical person, but somebody's looking.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it always lines up somehow. Sometimes it will leave you way out in the field, left field, as far back than you ever imagined.
Don't even see it, and until you step out of it, you're like, oh, okay, you were right. I should have listened. Awesome. Yeah. Well, Cass, man, it's been so amazing. I know we got to wrap it up here. Do you have any last words, or do you got anything coming up that you want to share, or where people can find you, or any message? Sure, it's your time to shine, even though you've been shining this whole time. It's your time to shine brighter. I didn't really know how to say that. Just go.
We have a camera on right now, and I am a little greasy, so it's been a long day. So I was like, what is she talking about? No. Thank you, Helen, so very much. I think it's ending on a really light note, and this humor and this laughter is what I envisioned for this interview, that just to be real and just to be humble and just to appreciate one another, and moving forward, that we're just talking, we're sharing, we're connecting, and somebody's going to hear this and feel that same trueness. And so last message is, what you have is enough, and where you come from is enough, and how you move the goodness or the strength or the things that you're proud of within you, you move that forward, can be a multiple opportunity. Every single step that you take forward, there's just multiple areas that you can look at. I've just chose to use my inspiration through my sister of not having ability to use my own ability in the way that I'm able to help myself first, and then my family, and then people that I care about in my community, in my world. And so that has just been under the umbrella of wellness and fitness and yoga and movement. And so I'm very grateful for that. And I know that from this podcast and ending right now, I want to keep those connections and keep that tie and keep that inspiration in all of us, that what we have in our spirit and in our throne, that we can continue to just be reminded of that and do our best to push it forward in goodness and goodwill. I have taken a break from social media, so I don't know when this airs, but I can be found on Instagram and Facebook. So right now, currently, I'm taking a break from it. But you can find me on Instagram at FitCas, FITCAS, and Facebook is Casandra with one S, Casandra Joy. And I have a small business that I'm building right now, and I hope to share that on my social media platforms soon. But right now, Mama Cass is taking care of self and focusing on the organizations that I manage and run. I'm working with Native youth, I'm working with Native women, and I'm still pushing and pulling with the wellness arena as well. So in order to do that in those multiple areas, I've kind of disconnected so that I can reconnect with myself and push my goodness forward.
Yes.
So thank you guys very much, Helen. Helen, I really admire you. I love you and your family. I'm still anxious to meet your mom whenever that time comes. I would love to sit with her and just admire her too. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for listening. Please subscribe, like, share. We love you. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find me on sexyfreedommedia.com. Thanks, folks. Have a good night.